With Halloween coming up, it's as good a time as any to review Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, which is a sort of spiritual sequel to Amnesia The Dark Descent. Unfortunately, however, it's not developed by Frictional Games, who made the first Amnesia as well as the Penumbra series. It's developed by the Chinese Room, who are most famous for making Dear Esther and Corsikovia as well. The disappointing thing with A Machine for Pigs primarily is that it focuses more on story than gameplay. The game is incredibly short, and the story isn't actually anything special. This is going to be a very critical review of the game, because it was about the same price as the original Amnesia. It's only 3 hours long, it doesn't support custom stories, and the story itself isn't that good. It was probably one of those games that might be worth playing, however, if it's on Steam sale, so bear that in mind, but I'm not going to favour this game. The story is set in just before the turn of the 20th century, and you play as a guy called Oswald Mandus, who's an industrialist who sort of owns a slaughterhouse. And the story isn't quite clear in game, and this is going to contain spoilers, but his wife dies, and he's left to look after his two children. He goes to South America on some sort of expedition and finds a load of riches and an orb inside a temple, which sort of drives him insane, and then he wants to slaughter all of humanity to save them from dying in the upcoming First World War. So what you have is essentially a 3 hour game where you walk around first in his mansion, then in a sort of industrial estate before going into the giant slaughterhouse. And basically walking, this is the big problem of the game, it's completely linear. You're always walking down a straight corridor, therefore the puzzles are not difficult at all. There is no inventory system, so you're always essentially going in a straight line. And you'll eventually get to a locked door where you know you have to go through it, so you'll just have to pick up an item and walk it to the door or somewhere similar to get through it. Some of the settings are quite nice, I suppose you could say. It's not a completely... I mean, visually it does look quite good. Some of the settings have had a lot of effort put into them. But unfortunately for a survival horror game, it's not frightening at all. If you do die, you get respawned straight away like in the first Amnesia and the enemies are gone. However, in this one, there's far less enemy encounters than the first Amnesia, and there's really no, setback for getting caught. So, unfortunately, it's not a very good game. Now, this is the problem that I might do a video on later on, is that games that tend to try and put stories over gameplays never succeed, because essentially a game should have gameplay as the most important factor, because that's what makes a game work. And a game with good gameplay can have an absolutely pitiful story, and it can still be very enjoyable, because the mechanics of the game are excellent. If a game focuses on the story, and the gameplay is mediocre, non-existent or whatever, the game will be a complete failure, because if you wanted to watch, if you wanted a story, it'd be better in the form of a book or a film. So yeah, A Machine for Pigs, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I know a lot of people might get upset over that, but there's a lot of people who don't like the game as well. So, if you want to play an Amnesia game, definitely play the first Amnesia or play the Penumbra games. They're far better than this one. And if it is on Halloween sale, yeah, it's probably worth getting, but expect it as more of an interactive story look-around simulator than an actual survival horror game. Maybe if you went into the game with that frame of mind, you might enjoy it more. But bear in mind, if you are going to get it, it's a very short game, the story's quite muddled, and you can find an actually better explanation of the story online where people have typed it up rather than how it's presented in the game. But yeah, some people might enjoy it, so maybe check it out if it's on sale, but otherwise don't bother.